Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating system. It's designed to capture that unexplainable magic that your very best performers have. We're talking about how to take that hidden genius and actually scale it across your entire team so that excellence becomes the new normal for everybody. All right, let's get into it. So, first up, let's talk about a character you probably know well. I bet you have someone just like this on your team. They're amazing, right? But they're also your biggest single point of failure. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The one with the golden gut, the person who can find that impossible candidate in minutes, or they spot the perfect fit that everyone else just completely missed. They just know. And it feels like magic. But see, that's the problem, isn't it? It is magic. And here's the wild part. That incredible strength, that individual genius, is also a massive vulnerability for you. Because when your team's success depends on talent that just lives inside one person's head, well, you've got a huge problem just waiting to happen. And here's exactly why that genius is so hard to copy. I mean, you've probably tried, right? You ask them, how do you do it? And they can't really tell you. You have people shadow them, but that only shows you what they do, not how they think. And forget about writing a standard operating procedure. That's way too rigid for their kind of intuitive process. And all of this leads to the biggest risk of all. When they leave, all of that priceless knowledge walks right out the door with them. So, how do you fix this? How do you bottle that lightning? Well, it all starts with understanding what the real barrier is. See, it's not that your top performers are trying to keep secrets. It's that their process has become totally invisible, even to themselves. It's a cognitive bias known as the expert's curse. And it's the real reason why asking your best person, hey, how do you do that, almost never ever works. Their expertise has become so automatic, so second nature, that they can't even see the individual steps anymore. They've literally forgotten what it's like to be a beginner. And this is what the expert's curse actually sounds like in the real world. When they say, oh, it's straightforward, what they really mean is, there are about 20 steps I'm doing in my head automatically. When they say, you just know, what's really happening is advanced pattern recognition built up over years. And my favorite, it depends, that's a huge clue that there's a super complex decision tree buried deep in their mind. This is exactly where all that critical knowledge gets lost. So to get past this, the collective IQ system uses this really unique interviewing method. They call it the alien anthropologist. The whole idea is you approach the expert with strategic ignorance. You pretend you're an alien who knows absolutely nothing about their job, and you force them to explain every single tiny step, every decision, and every unwritten rule they follow without even thinking about it. Now, the key to this whole thing is you have to record these interviews, because as the expert starts to struggle and get confused trying to explain stuff they think is obvious, that's when they reveal their hidden process. Their confusion is literally your treasure map, and the transcripts from these sessions, absolute gold. Okay, so you've captured all this hidden knowledge. Now what? How do you actually turn that into a practical system that your entire team can use every single day? Let's check it out. And this is a really important point. Collective IQ is not another piece of software you have to go buy and get IT to install. It's a system that lives inside the generative AI platforms your team is probably already using, like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. This just totally removes the biggest hurdles to getting people to use something new. No new logins, no complex rollouts. The system works on this simple but really powerful three-step loop. First, you take the expert's decoded instincts, all that gold from the transcripts, and you translate it into a structured AI prompt. Then, you standardize that big, complex prompt into a simple slash command that anybody can use. And finally, the repeatable parts get automated, turning that gut feel into a simple, scalable command. And here's what that actually looks like. With a simple command like scorecard, anyone on your team can take a messy job description and boom, turn it into the kind of perfectly weighted evaluation tool your top recruiter would build. Or they type sourcing and instantly get expert-level search strategies and those complex Boolean strings your best sourcer would take an hour to write. Expert-level work becomes available to everyone, on demand. So, what's the real-world impact of all this? I mean, for a manager or a team lead, what does this actually change? The outcomes are super tangible. First, excellence is no longer stuck with one person. It scales across everyone. Second, all that critical knowledge is now captured and protected, so it stays even if your star performer leaves. That performance gap between your best and your average people, it closes, and that leads to faster, higher quality hiring. As a leader, you get so much leverage because you're not putting out fires. You're just seeing consistent, high-quality work happen everywhere.
And this brings us right back to that number one. We started with the problem of relying on that one top performer. The whole point of the system is to make their brilliance the new baseline for everyone.
Here's the core promise, plain and simple. It's about making every single person on your team as good as your very best person on their absolute best day. And the real kicker is, it does it without adding a single new piece of software to your tech stack. Now, we've been using recruiting as our main example, but you can probably see where this is headed. This whole idea of capturing and scaling expertise, it has a much, much bigger vision. Yeah, recruiting is just the starting point. The same methodology works in any fields that relies on expertise that's hard to put into words. Think about sales, leadership coaching, learning and development, even super specialized fields like medicine. This system is pretty much universal for any kind of knowledge work. And this really reframes the whole conversation we're having about AI. It stops being about replacing people. Instead, AI becomes the tool we use to capture our most valuable human asset, our hidden brilliance, and make it available to everyone. It's not about making humans obsolete. It's about making human genius scalable. And that leaves us with one final, really powerful question to think about. What hidden brilliance is locked away on your team?